My wife cheated with 2 married co-workers, so I quietly synced her messages. Then made a move that turned her entire world upside down. We've had our share of downs over the years, and there have been instances when I've been uncomfortable with some of my wife's male friends over the years, while she was in grad school and in her career. I don't think I'm insecure, but the flirting and what now seems to be triangulation or almost seeming to make me jealous with little hints might now make some sense. It's led to fights and disagreements, and she has a history of mood swings, some depression, and ADHD. She currently works at a large sales marketing firm, and I'm in engineering. Up until just a few weeks ago, I genuinely believed our marriage was on solid ground, a stable foundation built over years of shared experiences and mutual understanding. We had navigated the usual ups and downs that come with any long-term relationship, but I never doubted the core of what we had. Our intimate life felt consistent and satisfying, at least from my perspective, nothing extraordinary, but certainly not lacking in a way that raised alarms. And while it's true that her career in sales and marketing had propelled her earnings ahead of mine in engineering, I never once viewed it as a point of contention. In fact, I was proud of her success. It allowed us to enjoy a comfortable lifestyle in our bustling Pacific Northwest city, where we'd settled after relocating from a quieter part of the state 3 years back. Money wasn't a divider for us, it was a shared resource, something we managed together without resentment or competition. Yet, looking back now with the clarity of hindsight, there were subtle shifts that I perhaps should have paid more attention to. Over the past 18 months, our arguments had escalated in frequency and intensity, evolving from minor disagreements into more heated exchanges that left lingering tension in the air. We'd always had our differences. Her history of mood swings, occasional bouts of depression, and ADHD had been part of our dynamic since the early days of our 9-year relationship, but these recent conflicts felt different, more charged with unspoken frustrations. I chalked it up to the stresses of work, the pressures of adulthood, and the ongoing conversations we'd started having about starting a family. No kids yet, but the topic had been gaining momentum this year, with us weighing the pros and cons, dreaming about what parenthood might look like for us. Still, amid all that, something changed in her behavior over the last few months. She became unusually attentive toward me, small gestures like preparing my favorite meals unprompted or initiating affectionate moments that harken back to our dating days. At the same time, though, she seemed shrouded in a deeper melancholy, her usual vibrancy dimmed. And physically, the transformation was alarming. She'd always been petite, but she shed weight rapidly, going from her slender frame to something alarmingly frail, all skin and bones, with little appetite to speak of. Meals would sit untouched, excuses about not feeling hungry becoming a regular refrain. I worried it might be stress or perhaps a health issue she wasn't sharing, but now, in light of recent revelations, I suspect I understand the root cause all too well. Guilt, perhaps, or the internal turmoil of leading a double life. It all came crashing down 2 weeks ago when an unexpected anonymous text message landed on my phone from someone in her professional circle. The sender chose to remain unidentified, but the details they shared made their identity crystal clear to me. It had to be one of her close colleagues, a married woman we've socialized with as couples on numerous occasions, dinners, weekend outings, the kind of friendly interactions that build trust among groups. She's always seemed genuine, someone who valued our friendship, so receiving this from her felt like a reluctant act of kindness rather than malice. The message arrived in 2 segments, carefully worded with evident empathy, as if the sender knew the devastation it would unleash. They prefaced it with expressions of sympathy, insisting that I deserved transparency about the shadows lurking in my marriage. The core of it was brutal in its simplicity. According to this insider, my wife had been entangled in a long-term affair spanning over a year with a male colleague she often referred to as a good friend. He's a decade her senior, married himself, and a father to a young child, details that made the betrayal sting even more, painting a picture of entangled lives and broken vows. From what was described, their connection wasn't just physical. They had exchanged declarations of love, carving out secret time together that I was completely oblivious to, all while our own life carried on as normal. But the revelations didn't stop there, escalating the pain to an almost unbearable level. As if one betrayal weren't enough to shatter my world, the text unveiled a second affair, this one more recent, unfolding over the past few months with yet another married man from the same company. This individual is roughly 20 years older than her, with a family of several children, adding layers of complexity and recklessness to the situation. The affair had apparently reached a boiling point when a coworker stumbled upon them in a compromising position, engaged in sex in an unoccupied office during work hours one afternoon. The witness, understandably shocked, reported the incident to Human Resources, triggering a cascade of consequences. It ballooned into a full-blown scandal within the firm. All 3 parties, my wife and her 2 lovers, were hauled in for interviews with HR. Shockingly, the 2 men had been unaware of each other's involvement, leading to heated confrontations between them that only amplified the mess. The fallout seems inevitable. Whispers suggest my wife faces imminent termination, along with the older man she was caught with, their professional reputations tarnished beyond quick repair. Needless to say, I've been teetering on the edge of emotional collapse ever since, barely managing to maintain composure. With family visiting our home for the holidays, relatives filling the space with laughter and festivities, I've forced myself to wear a mask of normalcy, engaging in conversations and traditions as if nothing is amiss. She remains clueless that I've been tipped off via those texts, and she's volunteered absolutely nothing about the chaos unfolding in her work life or these illicit relationships. This silence compounds the hurt. Over the past year, she's deceived me time and again about the first affair partner, dismissing my occasional suspicions as paranoia. I'd voice my unease after noticing prolonged interactions or late nights at the office, only for her to brush it off with reassurances like, "You're overthinking it, we're just friends," or accusations that I was being unreasonably jealous. Her deflections were so convincing that I'd back down, not wanting to escalate into another fight, convincing myself it was my own insecurities at play rather than any real red flags. Our separate cell phone plans provided her with a veil of privacy, but curiosity, and now desperation, led me to crack her password, a move that unveiled a digital trail of deceit. Scrolling through the endless threads of messages and exchanged photos with the individuals I've since pinpointed as her affair partners was nothing short of nauseating, a visceral punch to the gut that left me reeling. The content was intimate, explicit, a stark contrast to the life we shared at home. Amidst it all, there was a barrage of texts to yet another unfamiliar number, one that didn't match any of her known contacts. I cross-checked against the numbers of her close female friends, whom I have saved in my own phone, and it wasn't any of them. This mystery contact added another layer of intrigue and dread. Who else might be involved in this web? Was it a confidant, another paramour, or something even more tangled? The uncertainty gnaws at me, amplifying the sense of betrayal and leaving me questioning every aspect of our shared history. To flesh out these feelings further, I find myself reflecting on the subtle warning signs that, in retrospect, were glaring. The increased attentiveness she showed recently, those unexpected hugs, the way she'd linger in conversations about our future, now seems like overcompensation, a desperate attempt to mask her guilt or perhaps even to convince herself that our marriage was still salvageable. Her weight loss, once attributed to possible stress from work deadlines or the emotional weight of our family planning talks, takes on a sinister hue. It's as if the internal conflict of juggling multiple deceptions was literally eating away at her. I recall nights where she'd push food around her plate, claiming a lack of appetite, while her eyes darted away, avoiding direct contact. Depression had always been a shadow in her life, managed through therapy and medication, but this recent downturn felt more profound, intertwined with secrecy. The anonymous tipper's message, laced with compassion, haunts me. Phrases like "you deserve better" and "I'm sorry to be the one to tell you" echo in my mind, underscoring the gravity of the situation. Knowing it's likely from that mutual friend we've shared laughs with over barbecues and game nights makes it all the more poignant. She must have wrestled with the decision to intervene, weighing loyalty against morality. The details about the affairs paint a picture of calculated risk-taking, stolen moments with the older colleague, perhaps during lunch breaks or fabricated business trips, evolving into emotional entanglements where "I love you" was tossed around freely. The second liaison, shorter but no less destructive, culminated in that office indiscretion, a reckless act that not only endangered her job but exposed the fragility of her choices. Confronting the evidence on her phone was like peeling back layers of a life I thought I knew intimately. The texts weren't just flirtatious, they were laden with plans, inside jokes, and shared vulnerabilities that should have been reserved for us. Photos exchanged, innocent on the surface but charged with context, further eroded my trust. And that enigmatic number, with its high volume of exchanges, leaves a void of unanswered questions. It's not her girlfriend's, I've verified that much. Could it be a burner for one of the affairs, or someone else entirely? The paranoia creeps in, but I remind myself to focus on facts. In these quiet moments, as family chatter fills the house, I grapple with the duality of love and betrayal. Our marriage, once a source of comfort, now feels like a facade. The path ahead is unclear, but the pain is real, a constant companion as I steel myself for the confrontations to come. I'm at a loss and feel like an idiot. It's the holidays, and family is here, so I'm keeping a brave face. But once they leave after New Year's Eve, I just don't know where to start. I can't even understand what's going on here with what is serial cheating, all the lying and manipulation she's been doing. Is there any coming back from this? Or for those of you who have been down this road, what do I do next? I feel like I'm going to lose it any second, and I appreciate any advice regardless of how harsh it might be. Looks like Santa's not the only one coming to town this holiday season. Seems like your wife's been hosting her own little naughty list party, complete with workplace shenanigans and surprise affairs. Who needs mistletoe when you've got office desks for rent? Forget about decking the halls, it's time to deck the halls with caution tape and divorce papers. And as for those anonymous texts, it's like a festive gift exchange of betrayal and deceit. Just remember, 'tis the season to be jolly, even if your wife's been busy spreading more than just holiday cheer. So, grab a glass of eggnog, take a deep breath, and prepare yourself for the wildest ride of your life. Who knew our space could be so eventful? I thought a lot about what everyone said and ended up trying to sync my work iPad with her phone, and it worked mostly. I got a chance when she went outside for a bit with her nieces and nephews and left her phone charging in our bedroom. I got lucky on the password, which was more obvious than I would have thought, and got it on the second try. Things were as bad as I imagined they were based on what I could recover in the anonymous text. Whoever tipped me off was clearly being truthful. I recovered archived WhatsApp chats and some ongoing ones. I'll summarize as best I can because what I saw disgusted me and probably will traumatize me for a while. My wife was definitely sleeping with both coworkers, and neither seemed aware. Apparently, the long-term guy seems to have really liked her, but their recent convos got icy as my wife seems pissed that he disclosed the truth about the relationship as part of the HR process several weeks ago. So, around when I found out and probably around the time the HR thing kicked off, she was telling him how much she loved him, but then a week later, she's telling him she needs space, isn't sure, etc. There are archived messages, or the ones I could recover, going back well into 2022. They are sexual, graphic, include pics, details, etc., and always included "I love you" on both sides. Short-term guy, the much older one, is worried about his job but also keeps trying to get her to meet to hook up. She keeps her distance, it seems, but some of their chats, they only went back to September, are definitely sexual, expressing sexual wants, etc. It seems less frequent than long-term guy, not all that emotional, just flirty and highly sexual. She also complained to him about long-term guy making her life complicated, a direct quote, even though it seems long-term guy wasn't the one who caught them, so I'm not sure how he found out. Here's what I ended up doing. I called my boss and explained what I could muster up, and I asked for a few weeks off. He was very understanding and gave me 3 weeks to sort things out and get away. My wife on Friday went out shopping and a movie with her sister, and that's when I bailed. I packed up all the clothes I needed, wanted essential electronics, and a few random items, and loaded up my truck with about 4 duffel bags and a few boxes. I spoke with her dad and told him what was going on. He was angry and incredulous at first, but when I shared some of the messages with him, the most PG I could find, he sort of broke down, gave me a hug, and I told him I'd be staying with friends out of town who live about an hour away. Reading those messages, I felt like I was outside looking through a window of a love triangle movie that turned into a horror movie because it's my wife leading the second life. I'm emotionally exhausted. I feel sick, and I cannot just get my head around how someone could act this way. I feel I need to file, so I'm hoping one of the lawyers I contacted over the past few weeks gets a hold of me this week. Any additional advice or thoughts are welcome. Bravo. Nothing says I'm out of here like a truckload of duffel bags and a getaway to the hills. Just remember to pack your sense of humor alongside those essential electronics. After all, laughter is the best medicine, especially when you're navigating the minefield of divorce proceedings. It's been busy last week, or at least I've been trying to stay focused by keeping myself busy, by keeping my life organized as I move forward. Thank you again to everyone who continues to reach out with all the support and advice. Here's where things are at so far. I have not responded to any of her texts or calls. I don't plan to, but it's very difficult. There have been points every day where I break down, but I'm realizing, mostly through the advice I've gotten here, that nothing good is going to come from communicating with her. I want out. I'm filing for divorce, and the longer I go without having any contact, the better for me, even if it feels raw right now. I have an attorney that family has helped me to pay for, and I've gone through the whole story with her several times, provided all the information she's asked for, etc. I think my wife will be served at some point in the next week or two, at least that's my understanding. The validation I got from my attorney was a relief, but she was also blunt. She said in no uncertain terms that my wife is a narcissist and that this is disordered, awful conduct that is really bad. She communicated that she doesn't see my circumstances too often, multiple affairs at once at the workplace and lies to all involved. For some reason, that has made me feel better, like this really is as bad as it sounds and as bad as it's made me feel. Also, for those who have asked, we were renting our house, and the lease period is up after March. I emailed the landlord, it's an older couple, let them know we were splitting up. I kept it brief, no details, and would not be renewing. My friends have graciously allowed me to continue staying with them, and I'm just going to pay the rent for the next few months and bite the bullet. I can often work remote, and even though my office is a bit of a drive from my friend's place, I can handle it for a bit. I guess I figure this is the best way to live somewhere I feel secure, understood, and don't have to deal with possibly seeing my wife. Finally, the last part, maybe this was a bad idea, but I did it anyway. I made contact with the two affair partners. I got one of their numbers through a friend of a friend, and the other one I just called at my wife's company and got transferred through. That was the short-term older guy, I think he's 50 or early 50s. I introduced myself, told him we needed to talk and that I had some questions. He panicked on the phone, seemed nervous, and said he didn't have anything to say and hung up. The longer-term guy and I had 2 calls for a total of about an hour. This is the guy who's 40, I think, who my wife was really good friends with. As much as I hate his guts, I respect that he answered my questions. I'll say this, he was confident but apologetic, and I believed what he told me based on some specific details we discussed over the course of the calls. He just laid it all out there. What was shocking was the crap my wife told him about me and us. I was verbally abusive, we rarely had sex, I was lazy and checked out, etc., etc. He acknowledged that he should have never started the relationship with her and basically did so because he was miserable at home. He and his wife are now separated, and he said he came clean with her about what had gone on with my wife but admitted that if it weren't for the HR situation, he probably wouldn't have. He even gave me her number if I wanted to speak with her. He shared some painful things in response to my questions and was under the impression that the crap my wife was telling him about me was real and that she really meant all the feelings she shared with him because their relationship went on so long and he trusted her. I thanked him, and after I hung up the phone, I just broke down again. Many of you reached out and advised to not spend any time wondering why she did this, but I just can't get away from that topic at the moment. I think still in disbelief that someone I trusted and thought loved and valued me could act this way. My mind has officially been blown to bits, doing my best to just get through each day, keeping no contact going, and seeing this divorce process through, which is just at the beginning stages. Please keep the advice coming, it's been so helpful thus far. I must say, your dedication to avoiding contact with your soon-to-be ex-wife is impressive. It's like you're playing a high-stakes game of emotional dodgeball, and you're the MVP, dodging those texts and calls like a pro. And let's give a round of applause to your attorney for confirming what we all suspected. Your wife's behavior is straight out of the narcissist playbook. It's like you're living in a real-life episode of House of Lies, except you're the one getting played. Yikes, sorry, Op. Well, it's getting closer to 2 months since I got that anonymous text from what I assume is a coworker of my soon-to-be ex-wife's, informing me of her serial cheating and the HR issue. The head-snapping shock and numbness has not left me, but it's getting less dense. The realization that the embarrassment, pain, and stupidity I feel is likely going to continue for a long while is tough to swallow, but I've committed to doing the best I can each day to not let it fully conquer me. If I'm being honest, I'm struggling emotionally. I'm keeping it together, but the tears flow each night, and I rarely cry, so I know this is my body speaking to me. So, I just let it happen. I retained an attorney with the help of family, and a few of them attended the first real meeting with me. The initial petition or filing is done, and it's going to be served on her at some point in the next week or 2. I feel good that I'm doing that now, and I know it's what's best. My emotions have been up and down about it, but I cannot raise children nor do I want to have children or a life with someone that has the traits my soon-to-be ex-wife has displayed. I'm committed to seeing it through. As for my soon-to-be ex-wife, I've still not called, texted, or emailed back. The longer I go, it gets a bit easier, like regain some control of the insanity she dropped on my lap. I haven't gotten any calls or texts in 4 or 5 days, but I did get a long email last week, and I did read it. In sum, it was a lot of "I love you" and "I realized I made a huge mistake" type of language. She said she was sorry over and over, but what struck me was that it was kind of empty. She didn't address much in terms of details about why she was sorry and just acknowledged that I never should have been intimate with anyone else. I don't know what a remorseful letter or email should say, but I think in my case, there's not much to explain. It's such insane, hurtful behavior that I don't even know if she can explain it. She ended it with a statement that she's hoping we can talk things out at some point. I also ended up calling the long-term affair partner's wife. I took him up on the offer, and actually, what he told me checked out surprisingly. It appears he was an open book with his wife once the secret spilled out. The lady was nice and to the point, said that they had been struggling for years. They have now separated and will also be filing soon. It's weird because she didn't seem angry, it was like she was relieved. She said the guy was a great dad but they were terrible together, and that my soon-to-be ex-wife had really done a number on him. One thing she did say that resonated and that we discussed is that she was very hurt that he didn't end things with her before it started. She thinks he was afraid to just get the divorce, but the affair part caught her off guard and was embarrassing because she felt like a safety net. I can relate. It's like they're afraid to risk being alone or something. The nature of what my soon-to-be ex-wife did is far too much for me. I've read a lot of stories on here, and I've seen a few where people don't leave when they discover serial cheating and all the lies. I can't imagine staying, so disgusted but also heartbroken at the same time. Also, I don't know yet if she is losing her job. I was told by the affair partner's wife, the one I spoke to, that she's on leave, which doesn't sound good. I will post again when I can. Just trying to focus on getting through the mess. Nothing says I'm truly sorry like a generic apology with a side of I never should have been intimate with anyone else. Ah, the poetry of remorse. And who knew you could bond over shared betrayal and shattered dreams? It's like finding solace in a sea of despair. Thought I'd share the latest because this sub has been a major lifeline for me the past several months, and a big thank you to each and every one of you that has reached out individually. I truly appreciate it. Well, here you go, she's been served, and the divorce is underway. It was a huge mixture of emotions and continues to be as I waver back and forth between relief, sadness, crying fits, anger, and just about every emotion one could feel. I still feel like I'm in a horrible dream, and I struggle to realize sometimes that this has actually happened. Never in a million years did I think this would happen. Her sister and her husband, I guess my ex-brother-in-law, have individually reached out and shared their disgust and support. Neither one of them knew apparently, and according to my ex-brother-in-law, who I was quite close with, they aren't hanging out with her. If nothing else, I appreciated their kind words, but I don't actually think they'll freeze her out forever, nor do I really care about that part. But it did feel nice to not have them blame me or ignore me. They both genuinely seem to be at a complete loss over this. I still haven't spoken to my ex or communicated back in any way. There are still calls and texts, but they're less frequent. My understanding through the grapevine is that she was fired and is living with her parents or will be soon, since the house we rented had the rent covered by me through March. Not sure if she's fully moved out or what, but I gather that she's struggling and has lost even more weight. But apparently, she's gotten the lips done even more than what she had before, for whatever reason. Full honesty, I did read a few of the emails she sent before I had to stop. It was a lot of the I love you stuff, tons of apologies, but no direct addressing her behavior or why really. She claims she's really messed up and that she got carried away because it was easy for her to connect with these guys. She liked the attention and never meant for me to see their messages. I sat back when I read that part, and it struck me that she obviously would have kept doing this if whoever had caught her at work hadn't walked into that office that day. She also claimed she never really loved the long-term affair partner and that she only loves me, but that's obviously impossible to accept given the nature of the messages I saw and the consistent emotional expressions of that very thing for the better part of a year. I guess if she was lying to me, it makes sense she was lying to these guys too. I don't know, it's just such insane behavior. I don't want her back, but it's terrifying on some level to be in this position. Trying to understand how someone could look you in the eye and lie so consistently and pursue multiple other relationships at the same time is gutting. The long-term affair partner is tall and good-looking, so that doesn't help, but the other guy is a legitimate creep, bald, muscular, but a loudmouth and definitely a dude that is always looking to hook up. It's a weird dichotomy, especially since she was supposedly happily married to me. I don't know what to make of it. I think it was just getting the validation and attention from anyone, I guess. But the more I read and the more I really think back and connect the dots, the more it seems clearer that she is in the personality disorder category. I realize that the best avenue is to just move on and forget her, but that's much easier said than done. It's so hard, and trying to understand the behavior has helped me heal. That's all for now, but as always, any thoughts or advice are welcome. Thank you. The joys of marital bliss unraveling like a cheap sweater in a washing machine. Congratulations on serving those divorce papers. Nothing says it's over, Buttercup, quite like a legal document arriving at your doorstep. Here's to moving on, one bewildering step at a time. Remember, the best revenge is living well, or at least getting through the day without breaking down in tears. Cheers to your newfound freedom, and may your future be filled with fewer bald, muscular creeps and more genuine connections.